Pull over!
He made $9.50 an hour. No power. No connections. Just a waiter who got tired of being targeted. He recorded stop number 7. The evidence he captured ended 47 police careers. Marcus Reynolds, 28 years old. Waiter at the Olive Garden on Route 7. $9.50 an hour, plus tips. Drives a 2004 Honda Accord. Paid it off himself. Night student at Metro Community College. Studying criminal justice. Ironic, considering what was about to happen. Every day, same routine. Work. School. Study. Sleep. And every night, same drive home. Route 7, to Mitchell Avenue. 15 minutes. Straight shot. No criminal record. No warrants. No traffic violations. Model citizen. Then the stop started. Before you find out what the waiter saw that night, and why 47 officers would lose everything because of it, make sure you don't miss a single chapter. Subscribe now to get each new installment delivered straight to your inbox. This story is just getting started. Stop number 1. September 12, 2021. 11:47 p.m. Route 7, half a mile from the Olive Garden. Officer Brad Kowalski, badge 2847. License and registration. You failed to signal. Marcus handed over his documents, confused. He was certain he'd signaled. 8 minutes later, a warning. No citation. He drove away puzzled but didn't think much of it. Bad luck, maybe. 2 months later, stop number 2. November 3, 11:52 p.m. Same stretch of road. Different officer this time. James Parrish, badge 3192. Your tail lights out. Marcus pulled over, complied, received another warning. When he got home, he checked the tail light. It worked perfectly. The next day at work, he mentioned it to his coworker Angela. That's the second time in 2 months. Same road. She told him to be careful. Stop number 3. February 17, 2022. 11:38 p.m. Sergeant Kowalski again. This time, it escalated. Step out of the vehicle. We're searching it. Marcus asked for the reason. Suspicious vehicle in a drug area. The search took 18 minutes. They found nothing. No drugs. No weapons. Nothing. Marcus sat in his car afterward, hands shaking. This isn't random anymore. Then came stop number 4 in April. Swerving between lanes. He wasn't. Stop number 5 in June. Matching a suspect description. The description was vague at best. Stop number 6 in August. Routine traffic check. There was nothing routine about it. 6 stops. 18 months. Same road. Same time window, always between 11:30 p.m. and midnight. Always right after his shift at Olive Garden. 6 different officers, but the pattern was identical. Vague reasons. Extended stops. Searches that found nothing. And not a single citation issued. Marcus started keeping a notebook. Black composition book, the kind students use. In it, he wrote everything. Dates. Times. Badge numbers. Exact locations. What the officers said. How long each stop lasted. He filled page after page with details, building a record he hoped he'd never need to use. But deep down, he knew. This wasn't going to stop. And eventually, he'd need proof. After the sixth stop, Marcus knew he needed help. He went to his criminal justice professor, Dr. Chen, the one person he thought might understand. They met after hours in an empty classroom. Marcus laid out his notebook, page after page of documented stops. Dr. Chen studied the entries carefully, his expression growing more serious with each page. "This is a pattern," he said finally. "This isn't random. You're being targeted." Marcus already knew that, but hearing it confirmed by someone who studied the law made it real. Dr. Chen pulled out a pamphlet from his desk drawer. "Know Your Rights During Traffic Stops," published by the ACLU. He handed it to Marcus along with some advice. "Document everything. Video if you can. Stay calm no matter what they say or do. Know the law better than they think you do." Marcus took the pamphlet home and read it cover to cover 3 times that night. 2 days later, he walked into an electronics store and bought a phone mount for his dashboard. The clerk asked if he was recording a road trip. Marcus gave a tight smile. "Something like that." March 8, 2023. The day that would change everything. Before his shift, Marcus stood in his apartment bathroom, practicing in the mirror. "Officer, I'm recording this interaction for my safety. Am I being detained or am I free to go?" He repeated the phrases over and over, trying to keep his voice steady, trying to sound confident. He took a deep breath and looked at himself. "I'm not doing anything wrong." He said it like a mantra, like if he said it enough times, it would protect him. That night at Olive Garden, Marcus was quieter than usual. His co-worker Angela noticed. "You okay?" she asked as they clocked out together. Marcus looked at her, then at his car in the parking lot. "If it happens again tonight," he said, "I'm ready this time." Angela didn't ask what he meant. She'd heard about the stops. Everyone had. She just squeezed his shoulder and told him to be safe. Marcus walked to his car, mounted his phone on the dashboard, and checked that it was positioned correctly. Then he started the engine and headed toward Route 7. "11:43 p.m.
License and registration, please.
7.
Yes, officer.
Marcus was driving home from his shift, relaxed, listening to music. Then he saw them. Police lights in his rearview mirror. His hands tightened on the steering wheel, but he forced himself to stay calm. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "Here we go." He pulled over, positioned his phone on the dashboard mount, and pressed record. "I'm recording this interaction for my safety and protection," he said clearly, making sure it was captured on audio. 1 minute later, Detective Ryan Morse, badge 2901, approached the window. "License and registration. Do you know why I stopped you?" Marcus handed over his documents. "No, sir." "Can you tell me the reason?" "Your vehicle matches a description. Drug activity in the area." Marcus kept his voice steady. "What description specifically?" "Dark sedan," Morse said, irritation creeping into his voice. Marcus pressed further. "Can you provide a report number for that incident?" Morse's patience was already wearing thin. "Step out of the vehicle." This was the moment Marcus had prepared for. "Am I being detained or am I free to go?" "You're being detained." "On what grounds?" Morse's voice hardened. "I don't need to explain myself to you." "Out, now." Marcus complied, but he announced every single movement. I'm unbuckling my seatbelt. I'm opening the door. My hands are visible. The phone captured everything. His calm compliance. The officer's growing agitation. Morse demanded to search the vehicle. I do not consent to a search, Marcus said. I don't need your consent, Morse shot back. Then you're searching without probable cause, Marcus replied. This is being recorded. Morse searched anyway. He found nothing. No drugs. No weapons. Nothing. 23 minutes after the stop began, Morse walked back to Marcus's window, frustrated. You need to be more cooperative. Marcus looked directly at him. I answered every question. I complied with every lawful order. I just didn't consent to an unlawful search. Morse handed back his license without another word. No citation. No ticket. Nothing. Marcus sat in his car after the officer drove away, hands shaking slightly. He looked at his phone, still recording. Stop number 7, he said to the camera. March 8, 2023. 23 minutes. No citation. No violation found. Just like the others. He stopped the recording and immediately uploaded it to the cloud. Then he drove home, knowing everything had just changed. The next morning, Marcus sat at his laptop reviewing the footage from stop number 7. 23 minutes of video. Every word captured. Every moment documented. He opened social media and began typing a caption. Stop number 7. This is what it looks like when you're targeted for driving while black. Same road. Same pattern. How many others? He attached the video, stared at the post for a moment, then hit upload. Then he got ready for his shift at Olive Garden. 6 hours later, his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. 40,000 shares. Local news stations requesting interviews. The ACLU had sent him a direct message. But it was the text messages from unknown numbers that stopped him cold. This happened to me too. Route 7. Same officers. Another one. I got stopped there 4 times last year. I thought I was crazy. Then a third. Can we talk? I have videos too. Marcus created a group chat and named it Route 7 Stories. Within hours, 12 people had joined. People he'd never met but who'd lived through the exact same nightmare. By day 3, 28 people. By the end of the first week, 41. The stories flooded in. His co-worker Angela. I got stopped there 9 times. 9. A hospital worker named David Chen. 5 stops. Never cited. Always searched. A nurse named Keisha Williams. They pulled me over in front of my kids. Traumatized them. Marcus started compiling the data in a spreadsheet. Same road. Same time window, always between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. All minority drivers. All working late shifts, restaurant workers, hospital staff, janitors, people just trying to get home. And almost none of them ever cited for anything. He created a map and started plotting every stop. Each pin represented a person pulled over, questioned, searched, delayed. The pins clustered along the same half-mile stretch of Route 7. The pattern was undeniable. 287 stops. 41 people. 18 months. This wasn't policing. This was hunting. And Marcus realized something that made his stomach turn. If 41 people had found him in 1 week, how many others were out there who hadn't? How many people thought they were alone, thought they were imagining it, thought maybe they'd actually done something wrong? Marcus looked at the map on his screen, at the sea of pins along Route 7, and knew this was bigger than he'd ever imagined. Marcus's video caught the attention of Rebecca Torres, an investigative journalist who'd been covering police misconduct for 10 years. They met at a coffee shop. "I've been covering police for a decade," she told him. "This pattern you've documented, I need to see the data." Marcus slid his laptop across the table, spreadsheet open. Rebecca's eyes widened as she scrolled through the numbers. "This is statistical impossibility," she said. "Unless it's intentional." Rebecca filed a public records request with the police department. Request all documents related to traffic enforcement on Route 7 between 2021 and 2023. The department denied it. She appealed. They denied again. She appealed again, threatening legal action. Finally, 3 months later, boxes of documents were delivered to her office. What she found was damning. The first smoking gun was an internal memo, partially redacted but still readable. Performance Incentive Program, revised. Officers will receive bonus compensation based on proactive enforcement metrics. Traffic stops, 2 points. Vehicle searches, 5 points. Arrests, 10 points. Monthly bonus, $500 for 100+ points. Rebecca looked up from the document. They created a quota system, she said. And they paid officers to fill it. The second smoking gun was a map. Route 7 had been officially designated a high-activity enforcement zone. Rebecca pulled up the map on her computer and showed Marcus. "Look where it starts and ends." Marcus stared at the screen. "It starts exactly where my neighborhood connects to the highway," he said slowly. "And ends," Rebecca finished, "at the white neighborhood on the west side." "They were targeting us," Marcus said, anger rising in his voice. "Literally drawing a line around minority communities." The third smoking gun came later, recovered through subpoena. A group text thread between officers. "Route 7 is fire tonight," Officer Parrish wrote. "Already at 3 stops." Sergeant Kowalski replied, "Easy money, LOL, these people never know their rights." Detective Morse chimed in, "Hit my bonus, thanks Route 7, followed by laughing emojis. Another officer warned, "Document reasonable suspicion though, cover your ass." Kowalski's response was the most telling. "What they gonna do? Sue?" Followed by more laughing emojis. They thought they were untouchable. They were wrong. Rebecca Torres connected Marcus with civil rights attorney Rebecca Okonjo, a lawyer who'd spent 15 years fighting police misconduct cases. In her office, surrounded by law books and case files, Okonjo reviewed everything Marcus had compiled. 287 stops. 41 victims. Text messages between officers. Bonus payment records. Body cam footage. She looked up at Marcus and the group of people crowded into her office. "This is the most documented case of systematic profiling I've seen in 15 years, she said. "We have everything we need." On April 15, 2023, they filed the lawsuit. On the courthouse steps stood Marcus, attorney Okonjo, and 40 other plaintiffs. People who'd been stopped, searched, and humiliated on Route 7. The case was Reynolds versus Metro Police Department. The defendants. 23 named officers, including Sergeant Kowalski, Officer Parrish, and Detective Morse. Police Chief Raymond Martinez. And the city of Metro itself. The claims were extensive. Unlawful detention, 287 stops conducted without probable cause. Illegal searches, 156 vehicle searches performed without consent or legal justification. Racial profiling, a pattern so consistent it was statistically impossible to be random. Conspiracy to deprive civil rights under color of law. And municipal liability, because the department had created and maintained the system that made it all possible. After filing, they held a press conference. Marcus stood at a podium, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. He unfolded a piece of paper and read the statement he'd written the night before. We weren't criminals. We were quotas. We were paychecks. We were points on a scorecard that got officers bonuses while our constitutional rights got violated 287 times. He paused, looking up at the cameras. This lawsuit isn't just about money. It's about making sure no one else has to keep a notebook documenting how many times they got illegally stopped on their way home from work. It's about making sure no one else has to practice in the mirror how to stay calm when an officer searches their car for the 6th time without finding anything. It's about accountability. The press conference ended. The lawsuit had been filed. Now came the hardest part. Waiting to see if the system Marcus had studied in college would actually deliver justice. During discovery, the subpoenas started producing evidence. Lots of it. The first batch was financial records. Bonus payments made to officers over 3 years. The total? $2.3 million. Sergeant Kowalski had received $47,500 in bonuses. Officer Parrish, $38,200. Detective Morse, $29,800. They'd been literally paid to violate people's rights. Then came the GPS data from patrol cars. Every police vehicle is equipped with GPS tracking. The data didn't lie. Heat maps showed officers clustering on Route 7 between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. Exactly when late shift workers were driving home. The pattern was undeniable. They were lying in wait. Body cam footage from other officers revealed even more. Casual conversations between shifts, talking about the quota game like it was fantasy football. Kowalski's at 90 points this month, one officer said. Route 7's been good to him. Another asked, anyone hit their bonus yet? And there was Kowalski himself on different footage, briefing newer officers. Route 7 after midnight, he told them. Easy pickings. But the moment that broke the case wide open happened in a deposition room. Detective Morse sat across from Attorney Okonjo, his own lawyer beside him looking increasingly uncomfortable. Okonjo was methodical, her questions precise.
Detective Morse, how many stops did you conduct on Route 7?
Approximately 40 stops.
And how many resulted in arrests? Long pause. 3. And how many resulted in any citation whatsoever? Morse stared at the table. 5. Okonjo let the silence hang for a moment. So 35 stops produced nothing. No arrests. No citations. No contraband. Nothing. Why did you keep stopping people there? Morse looked at his attorney, who offered no help. Because Sergeant Kowalski told us it was a good spot for points. His attorney closed his eyes, knowing that answer had just destroyed their defense. Morse had admitted it. The stops weren't about public safety. They were about gaming a bonus system. They were about money. And 35 innocent people had been detained, searched, and humiliated so Detective Morse could earn points toward a $500 monthly bonus. The evidence was overwhelming. The question now wasn't if the city would lose. It was how much they'd pay. Behind closed doors, the city attorney reviewed the evidence with the police chief and mayor. We can't defend this, the attorney said bluntly. The text messages alone would destroy us in front of a jury. Police Chief Martinez tried to deflect. These were rogue officers. The city attorney cut him off. You authorized the bonus system. You signed off on it every month for 3 years. Your signature is on every single payment. The chief had no response. The city made their first settlement offer. $8.2 million. Marcus and attorney Okonjo refused. Money isn't enough, Marcus told them. Fire every officer involved. Federal consent decree. Independent oversight. Or we go to trial and let a jury decide. 10 days before trial, the city came back with a revised offer. $12.4 million to the plaintiffs. All 23 officers terminated immediately. Sergeant Kowalski would face federal criminal charges. Police Chief Martinez would resign. 5-year federal consent decree with independent monitoring. Marcus's portion of the settlement was $294,000. As he signed the papers, he made an announcement. I'm donating my share to a legal fund for people who can't afford to fight back. The civil case was settled, but the criminal case was just beginning.
The case before this court involves charges of misconduct against officers of the law. We will now review the evidence.
United States versus Brad Kowalski. The charges: conspiracy to deprive rights under color of law, wire fraud through the bonus scheme, and obstruction of justice. The trial lasted 3 weeks. In the courtroom, the prosecutor displayed Kowalski's text messages on a large screen. Officer Kowalski, you texted what they gonna do? Sue, followed by laughing emojis. Were you concerned about violating anyone's constitutional rights? Kowalski stammered. I was. I didn't think, the prosecutor interrupted. No. You didn't think. Because you believed you were untouchable. The jury returned a verdict. Guilty on all counts. Kowalski was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison, ordered to pay $150,000 in restitution, and banned from law enforcement for life. The other officers fell like dominoes. 6 received sentences ranging from 18 to 36 months. 11 took plea deals, receiving probation and permanent bans. 6 cooperated fully and received suspended sentences with bans. The final tally: 47 law enforcement careers ended. 23 officers fired. 18 supervisors forced to resign. 6 administrative staff implicated in the bonus system. 1 waiter's recording had dismantled an entire corrupt operation. The consent decree mandated 5 years of federal monitoring and required sweeping reforms. First, data transparency. Every traffic stop now logged by race, reason, and duration. Public quarterly reports. Statistical analysis by independent monitors. The department could no longer hide the patterns. Second, body cameras became mandatory for all stops. Automatic cloud upload with no officer access to delete footage. 5-year preservation. What happened to Marcus would be nearly impossible to deny now. Third, an early warning system. Officers showing racial disparities in their stops would be automatically flagged. Mandatory review after 3 complaints. Retraining or reassignment required. Bad officers couldn't fly under the radar anymore. Fourth, the quota system was banned. Performance bonuses eliminated. Stopped quotas made a fireable offense. Anonymous reporting for officers pressured to meet numbers. The incentive structure that created the problem was dismantled. Fifth, community oversight. A civilian review board with subpoena power. 50% of members from affected communities. Independent disciplinary authority. The community finally had a voice. 18 months later, the results spoke for themselves. Minority stops on Route 7 dropped 64%. Overall stops down 22%. Complaints of profiling down 71%. Body camera compliance at 99.3%. The reforms were working. Marcus graduated from community college and now works as a community liaison for a police accountability nonprofit. He still works part-time at Olive Garden. I like my co-workers, he says with a shrug. The Route 7 group remains active, monitoring the data every quarter. 6 other cities experiencing similar patterns have reached out for help. Angela, David, Keisha, and the others aren't going away. The ripple effect continues. Since Marcus filed his lawsuit, 14 similar cases have been filed in 8 states. 6 police departments have entered consent decrees. 127 officers terminated for quota-based profiling. $47 million paid in settlements. But 0 states have banned traffic stop quotas statewide. The fight continues. On March 8, 2024, exactly 1 year after stop number 7, Marcus drove home on Route 7. He wasn't stopped. Neither was anyone else that night. It's not perfect, Marcus says. But it's better. And better is a start. His notebook sits on a shelf in a law library now, evidence that one person with a phone and the courage to fight back can change an entire system. You don't need a badge to demand justice. You don't need power to stand up to power. Sometimes all it takes is one person who refuses to look away. What will you do when you see something that isn't right?